right. Good evening, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. We have the wonderful Mr. Summerhill 7. I'm so excited to have you here, Mr. 7. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Ocean Boomy. Thank you for inviting me. It's really a great opportunity to be with the largest festival in the nation, largest street festival in the nation, and
Yes.
with my people in Philadelphia. It's been a while, so thank you.
Yes. You're welcome. So again, you're watching the ODUNDE365 Entrepreneur Spotlight Series. We're so excited that you're here with us. So again, due to the pandemic, a lot of people have to shift it. So Odunde, we were virtual last year. We don't know what this year looks like because public safety is always our number one priority with Odunde. And so we're just doing a lot of virtual series from Convo with the CEO, Entrepreneur Spotlight. We have a children's cooking class, a Love Me Some Me wellness series. So again, we're just trying to educate people and inspire people to be their best. So Mr. 7, where do you live? Where are you coming out of? What's
My headquarters is in Tallahassee, Florida.
Okay.
And that's where I am right now. And, it's getting down to freezing tonight. So nobody's escaping the effects of winter. So even in Central Florida, it's cold.
But 40 beats 10 inches of snow and approximately 20, I think it's like 30 degrees.
Ooh, yeah, it's pretty nasty.
But
I grew up there, so I appreciate it. I empathize. There's a lot to be gained by that. We social distanced out of necessity during snowstorms, didn't we? Because you got snowed in, so you couldn't go anywhere.
Yes. So, Mr. 7, tell us about your business. What's the name of your business?
Well, the business I'm here to talk about tonight is Squirkler. SQUIRCULAR.com. We have several businesses, but the one we're most excited about now, especially during the pandemic, for this past year, really, is Squirkler.
Okay.
First of all, it's a fun tale about, a rare kind of story about making a transition from being a corporate attorney to being a full-time artist, right? That you don't hear that one every day.
No, and so, is that's your story?
That's the story. That's the story of Squirkler. Wow. It's my third book, but it's spun off into its own separate thing right now. Where the latest is we're talking with online distributors about producing the film. So like we'd love to get with like an HBO Plus or a Netflix and do the whole, deal. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't want to say too much about it, but that's the frontier of it. But in the middle, of course, we have the book, we have the audio book, we have the apparel. Go to Squirkler.com or hashtag Squirkler on any platform, and you can learn more about it. But that is, Oshun Boomy, that's the basic story. I graduated from high school in Philadelphia.
Okay. What high school was that?
47th and Wyalusing, Sister Clara Muhammad School.
All right. Okay.
And that's where my teacher, Professor Safa, told me I should become a writer. And I had never really considered it, but I listened to his advice, and eventually I did become a writer.
Yes.
And then this third book was published in 2010.
Okay.
And that's when we started developing the content around that in the film. And so we got, a lot of other business things that we're doing in the same space, the creative economy. But Squirkler is the story for now. Now, do you know how many lawyers there are in the United States, Oshun Boomy?
I'm going to take a wild guess and say approximately maybe about 500,000.
1.3 million.
Wow.
So a little bit more than you would have expected.
Estimated, right? Yes.
Not very much more. I mean, for a country of 300 million or more, that's still a very low percentage.
Yes.
So there's a lot of mystique around the being an attorney thing. So
Yes.
for the moment I knew I was headed to law school, I knew I wanted to write about it even before I entered the first day.
Okay.
But what I didn't know, Oshunbumi, was
Yes.
I was going to hate law school and I was going to want to leave 30 days after I arrived.
Get out of here.
And so it left me kind of wondering, well, what am I going to do if I don't become a lawyer? Because my whole life has been in preparation for being a lawyer.
Being a lawyer, yes, yes.
And that's when Ronald Reagan was our president, and
Okay.
he was an actor. I said,
Okay.
well, actors and lawyers, they're basically the same thing.
Okay.
And so that's when I began my career as an actor while I was in law school. That was back in the 80s.
Okay.
Yeah. So fast forward to 2007, after I completed my Master's of Fine Arts in Acting.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that people are guess how many actors there are employed at any given moment. Now this is interesting. So we know it's 1.5 million attorneys. Now what are actors? How many think actors are employed at any given moment? What's the number?
I'm going to say maybe 1 million.
If only. God, if only.
Yes.
About 150,000.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So those
numbers are very similar.
Right. Yeah. So I wanted to write a story, and I wanted to tell a story, and it's my mission to continue to tell this story of the intersection between these two professions.
Okay.
How to cross over between these two professions, and why the skills that both of these professions know, everyone wants to know them. And that's what I wrote this book for, is to give the common man access to something that only the elite, in both cases. I mean, you think lawyers are more elite than actors, but the fact of the matter is, actors are far more elite than lawyers.
Well, listen, you didn't finish law school, but you got your master's.
No, I did. I graduated. I practiced. Absolutely.
Oh, you did finish.
I'm admitted in California. I took the hardest bar in the country, and I practiced. And as I was practicing, I was also acting. And it wasn't until 10 years later I went back and got my master's and started acting professionally for companies and Utah Shakespeare Festival and that whole thing. And so, but that wasn't really, even still, come back later.
Okay.
I know, right? You got to do it. You got to do it like that.
It's that pandemic living. I understand.
And so the thing is, Oshunbumi, is that 10 years later, and I went back to school for acting. But I had been acting since that moment in law school when I decided I didn't want to be there.
Yes.
I immediately started to figure out, well, how can I take these skills that I've learned thus far and translate them into the acting business?
Wow. So let's talk about your younger years. You said you grew up in Philadelphia, went to Sister Claire Muhammad School. Let's talk about what influenced you to become a lawyer and an actor. What happened in your childhood that might have sparked that interest in you?
Well, that's a great question. Thank you for that, Oshunbumi. My mother, I was 5 years old. It was Easter Sunday. And I was dressed in my Superfly-inspired Easter suit from the film. And we went into a candy store, and the lady who ran the candy store said, "What do you want to be when you grow up, little boy?" And I leaned back on my platform shoes, Oshunbumi. I looked up at the lady, and I said, "I'm going to be a pimp." Yeah, my mother did just like that. Her face was just, and she was lighter than me. She turned bright orange. She snatched me out of the store, and she looked back at the lady, and she said, "He's gonna be a lawyer." just like that. Ever since that moment, my mother insisted that she didn't want to hear about anything else. I was going to be a lawyer. I didn't know any lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't introduce me to any lawyers. It was
Mm-hmm.
just, that was her idea. She spoke it into existence.
Yes.
Cut to 22 years later, I'm in a movie theater in Los Angeles, just having been admitted to the California bar. And I reflected back on that moment, and I realized that it was my mother's dream that got me through law school. It was my faith and my mother's faith. You see, she had faith that I could do it, and I had faith in her.
Yes.
And I looked up, and I was, but then I had to figure out, well, now that I did that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do it the rest of my life, because I'm 4 at the time. What am I going to do now?
Yes.
Because I already knew from the first 30 days at law school that I did not want to be a lawyer.
Okay.
So that's when I realized I was watching X by Spike Lee.
Yes.
I got to this part where they asked Malcolm Little, what do you want to be when you grow up? Mm-hmm. And he said, I want to be a lawyer. And the white guy says, as you know, niggers can't be lawyers. Why don't you be a carpenter? Mm-hmm. And I reflected on that moment, and I remember my whole life, people had told me that I should be a lawyer. Mm-hmm. So I knew I was in a different era than Malcolm Little grew up in. I had different options that he could never even dream of. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so then I said, well, the only thing I ever really wanted to be as a kid was on TV. I wanted to be an actor. That's all I ever really wanted to be. Yes. And I never really wanted to be any one thing. I liked doing a lot of things.
Yes.
And I've been an entrepreneur since I was 12 years old, where I was selling newspapers. So I always thought in terms of what can I do on my own that I could own myself. You see? And so that's when I thought, okay, well, acting, yes, but then what? That's when you go to the writing, the directing, other parts of the industry-related things. And so that's how I got started down this whole path of being an actor and an attorney.
Wow. So you became so tell me, how did you move down to Florida with the family? You said you practiced in California. What type of law did you practice?
I was a bond lawyer working for the state of Florida.
Okay.
Okay,
so give us a little more detail about that. What's that?
So like if they want to do a road, the state of California, not the state of Florida, the state of California. So if the state of California wants to do a new power plant, they got to raise money.
Yes.
So they float bonds. They set a debt, like, just like stocks, but they're bonds because they're government bonds and they're backed by the government. Yes. And so we're the lawyers for the state. It was the largest bond firm. I won't say their name, but they're the largest bond firm still to this day in the state of California.
Wow.
They recruited me out of law school after my first year. Right after my first year, they interviewed me, recruited me. I worked for them for 2 summers. Once in San Francisco and once in Los Angeles. They paid for me to take the bar exam. They paid to move me out to California.
Wow.
And it was a great, I gained a great deal of insight about the large law firms and about the whole world of corporate law. But again, by that time I was doing that, I already knew I wasn't going to be there long. I just didn't know how long. I moved to Los Angeles. I took the offer in the Los Angeles office because I knew that's where they make movies.
Yes.
I had an offer at their New York office and their San Francisco office, and I chose to go to the LA office, which was the smallest office, because I knew I wanted to make movies.
Yes.
And so I realized eventually that the only way to make movies, Oshunbumi, is to make movies. You got to just go do it. There's no hookups, aren't there? You're CEO. There's no hookups.
No, there's none. There's none. You got to work hard.
Just rolling up the sleeves.
That's right. You got to work hard. You have to work hard.
Yes. Yeah, and you got to love it because then it doesn't seem like work. It's just like, this is what I do.
Yes.
So I met some great people. I'm glad I spent time in Los Angeles. Met some great people that many of whom I'm still in contact with today.
Mm-hmm.
And I just been in the entertainment business ever since then. I came back. I left practicing law officially in New Jersey. My last legal job was working for Legal Aid of New Jersey.
Okay, so you moved back here to the East Coast.
Yep, in Newark, New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So you've been on both coasts. Tell me, do you have a family, and how were you able to have a family life and a professional life? How did you do both?
It's a good question. Oh, shoot, I'm booming. I left my wife.
Okay.
I got met. I mean, I left my wife. I didn't leave her high and dry. I left her with a business, a successful business. I said, you got a business. This is in Los Angeles. We got married. We lived together. And at the time, I had decided I wasn't going to be in entertainment acting anymore. I wasn't going to be an artist anymore.
Okay.
Do the law thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then that was that. I was lying to myself because soon as the opportunity came to do some acting, I was all over it. And I realized that I had to go do the acting thing. My first love is, I had to marry that.
Yes. Yes.
And so she was still young. We didn't have any children together. So I figured the sooner we separate, she can make her move to her forever husband. I was just the starter dude, You're on mute.
I hear you, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So that's why. So we got divorced. I moved to the Midwest. I got in a play right away in the Midwest. Then I came back to New York City because I knew I wanted more training. While I was training as an actor, I got a legal job in New Jersey.
Okay.
Being a lawyer. So then I was actually doing both careers
simultaneously, yes.
Exactly. And then I eventually, after 2.5 years of practicing law, I didn't take the bar in New Jersey. I let it go. And I just dove out there. No safety net, no parachute. Yes, the faith of my success from my faith in my mother. You see, my mother knew I could. Now, I didn't know the numbers at the time. I didn't know there were more lawyers than there were working actors.
Yes.
I don't think you have to be concerned about that as an entrepreneur. You have to be concerned about what motivates you as the entrepreneur, right? Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so what motivated
me? It takes a lot of guts to do that.
It takes a lot of guts.
For you to leave your 9-to-5 job, which is, your foundation to pay your bills.
Pay, status, friends love you, the whole thing, and just dump out there and be like, peace, I'm out. That takes the faith of Job.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So this is wonderful. So show everyone your book.
Yeah.
You said the book is the book a series, you stated?
Well, it's the third book in the Poemedy trilogy. And Karen Hunter, she read the second book. Karen Hunter is a New York Times bestselling author. She has a great book out called Niggardly.
Okay. Ooh.
It's a really great book. I highly recommend her book. She's a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. She said that this is truly one of the most important books of our time.
Get out of here. That's a wonderful.
That's a pretty big endorsement.
Yeah.
That's what made me think beyond just a book. I mean, I knew going into it that this was the story that I wanted to tell forever. Is that, listen, not only can you succeed, but you can succeed beyond your wildest dreams. You can fulfill your mother's dreams and your dreams.
Yes.
And the other parallel here, Oshunbumi, I must tell you, is that President Obama and I were in law school at exactly the same time.
Get out of here.
I talk about that in the book, about the parallels and the places where we could have met that we did not meet. For instance, at the Black Law.
So he was in a separate law school than you.
He was at Harvard. I was at NYU.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
they're not rivals in any way.
But they're both top notch. They're both top notch.
They're both top notch. They're both, you know, they both steal professors from each other. You know, they compete for resources. But I was a part of the National Black Law Students Association. I was the National Director of Community Services when I was in law school. And Obama was not around at all on the National Black Law Students Association scene when I was involved. And I was involved for at least 3 years. But he was the head of the Harvard Law Review. So he was on the national scene in that way. He was a spokesperson for students and for Black students because of his position there. And so I quote him in the book, and I talk about what it was like to be a Black law student at an elite school during that period, like Obama. Where we had seen Jesse Jackson, where anybody who was interested in politics knew that it was just starting to get good, that we're going to have governors, we're going to have senators. It's going to be popping in the next 2 to 3 decades. And there's going to be people we know, like people in the news. These are all people I went to school with, you know, Congress people. All of these people I know, you know, I laugh because I'm like, oh yeah, he still got that crazy haircut. You know, it's like, you know, because some people they set their image then in law school, and they're riding it out. So it's a beautiful. I chose a different thing. I chose the artist thing. I chose freedom. I chose Odunde.
Yes. So let's talk about how have you, as we wind on down, how have you pivoted during this pandemic? How have you pivoted during this pandemic?
Yeah. So pre-pandemic, a lot of my emphasis was on going out, teaching in person, teaching students, acting in person, doing a lot of in-person appearances. If you go to my website, you'll see a big part of my revenue was from personal appearances. So that's all gone. Any stage kind of related work, all the income is gone. So you can sit around and go whoop-de-doo. But I was already ready with online teaching, so that pivot.
Excuse me.
God bless you.
Thank you. Excuse me.
No worries. So I pivoted directly from any online or in-person teaching to online teaching. And then all the projects that I've had on the shelf in terms of film projects, my own film companies, as well as other companies I'm collaborating with, those got pushed to the front burner. So that's been the big pivot, is away from personal in-person contact things to things like video, music, streaming content that I had stockpiled, like audio books, things that I've had on the back burner,
have now
so busy with the in-person stuff, have now become front burner.
So Mr. Hill, Mr. Seven, as we wind on down, what would you tell your 21-year-old self? What advice, living this life have you had, what advice would you give the 21-year-old self?
Well, I don't give advice. I don't take advice. So I know he wouldn't listen. But here's what I'm going to allow to come through me, because I can hardly wait. I think it would be bigger, harder, faster. Everything I did, bigger, harder, faster. I mean, I don't think I really pulled very many punches. You know, I don't really think I missed anything or I lacked anything. I mean, I've been so blessed. You know, I mean, people have just, you know, it's overwhelming. So, and my relationship with the universe has been from the beginning solid. There's never been no reluctance on that. So I think it would probably be go bigger, go harder.
So what advice would you give to someone who wants to be an entrepreneur, has a full-time job, but is kind of like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to jump out on faith, what advice would you give them?
Yeah. Oh, that's good. So, and I do work with those people, right? It's part of my business, and I always start off by saying, "What's the thing that you love that you cannot go to bed without doing?" The thing that it's so big in your mind that you can't not think about it. That's your business.
Wow.
Now, you may not see it as having monetary value right now, but stay with that. And as your interest in it grows, you're going to begin to see opportunities where you can monetize your interest.
Yes.
Lead with your interest. So whatever your job is, most people don't like their job, but they might like some aspect of their job.
Yes.
And if that excites you, like every morning you like turn to the sports, or you like football, or maybe you're really into the way the lady explained the coronavirus. You might be into that. Whatever it is that you can't go to sleep without thinking about, that's your business. That's not just idle crick. That's what people. You're not the only person. You're not the only person who thinks that this is important. And so there's a big economy that comes out of that. So follow that. That's the only thing I say to my clients that sounds like advice.
Yes, that was great advice. Mr. Summerhill 7, this was wonderful conversation. You're watching the Odunde 365 Entrepreneur Spotlight. Mr. 7, please show your book and tell everybody where to get your book from.
Yes. Squirkler.com. It's spelled SQUIRCULAR.
Yes.
.com. That's the website where you can purchase it. It's in hardback, it's in soft cover, and it's also in digital form.
Yes.
You can look forward to the audio book that will be coming. There will also be a video book that will be developed.
That is great.
From the narrative film project that we're right now in negotiations for. So yes, and of course the t-shirts that you can get at poemity.com right now.
Yes. So thank you so much, Mr. 7. It was great talking to you this evening. It was wonderful.
Great.
It was inspiring. Thank you so much. I hope those who are watching, please are inspired by his story. Go for your goals. Go for your passion. No one's going to love your passion or your job or your business like you do. So please support this Mr. Summerhill 7 and his book, Squirkler. We are so excited. You're watching Odunde 365 Entrepreneur Spotlight every Tuesday at 6 p.m. If you would like to be featured, just DM us on our Instagram page at Odunde Festival, as Mr. Summerhill 7 did, and we can feature you. We're looking to feature all entrepreneurs out there. We want to feature you and highlight you. So please DM us on our Instagram page at Odunde Festival. We'll see you tomorrow at 7:30 for our Odunde 365 Love Me Some Weed Wellness series with Chef Chris, and we'll be making a wonderful dish. Thank you, Mr. 7.
Bye-bye.
All right, see you later.
Okay.